Maybe yam too.
There are no wrong answers, Brian. Yam too. Okay. That's something that we have in common. I was just trying to lighten the mood a little bit. So who can guess? Are we safe here? I know. Okay, Brian, please take a seat. Please put your hands together for Brian. Brian was trying to put his friend on the spot, but we got him. Yes, so okay, so let's start our program in earnest. Ladies and gentlemen, the first thing that we'll do is honor our motherland, the land where we are born. Please, shall we rise for the national anthem? Has it been done? No. Okay. Just invite the Vice Chancellor to come. Okay. In my days in Command Children's School, Dantuku Road in Kaduna, when we're called to sing the national anthem and the pledge, the whole place goes quiet and everybody stops moving. So I'd like for us to emulate the primary school children from Kaduna. The national anthem. Shall we say the pledge together? Pledge to Nigeria, my country, to be faithful, loyal, and honest, to serve Nigeria with all my strength, to be faithful and unity, and uphold her honor and glory, so help me God. Amen. Yeah. Amen. That's a good prayer. One house, please. Ladies and gentlemen, one house, please. One thing I love about Abuja is how you guys have free roads, so everything is smooth, you know. It was very easy to get from the airport to Now University. If I left the airport in Lagos and was coming here, I would still be there. And I would like to call forward the Vice Chancellor, Professor Dili Dogo, Vice Chancellor of Nile University, for the welcome address. Please put your hands together for him. Don't stop clapping. Do not stop clapping until he's up here. Don't stop. He's still on his way.
Hello, the Chief Marketing Officer, Nile University of Nigeria, Abuja. I can see Dr. Salid Stafida, the National Coordinator, SDG. Is he around? Other distinguished personalities from the presidency and indeed in the SDG office, my dear students, very distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, let me, on behalf of the Board of Management, Governing Council, and staff and students of Nile University, welcome you to this university's SDGs Summit 2023. SDG is very important to everyone because without planning, we cannot have a destination. As we all know, the SDG, because of its importance, is situated right in the office of the presidency to ensure monitoring and delivery of the specific objectives and the goals therein. About 23 years ago, everybody was hoping and wishing that by 2020, Nigeria would have turned around to perhaps be among the top 10 developed countries. That was when the Millennium Development Goals were launched. And the intention was to ensure inclusive development with specific targets and goals. Unfortunately, as 2020 was approaching, and it was very obvious that a lot were yet to be done, the UN decided to focus on the Sustainable Development Goals. The key goals, the 17 key goals, were intended to address all that is required to make a society worth living. It intended to address poverty. It intended to address food security. It intended to address inclusiveness, as well as education, quality education, and accessible education, health service and healthcare delivery, and amongst others. I'm happy that in the 2020 voluntary review by Nigeria, Nigeria chose to take the most important aspect that requires immediate attention. And that one includes poverty eradication, as well as food security. It also places health and education among the priority list. I'm happy today that we have very distinguished personalities here this morning, and I'm sure tomorrow too, to address those aspects that matters most to us as a country. Nile University of Nigeria, Abuja, which is a proud member of the Honoris United Universities, a higher education network across the African countries with 15 universities in 10 countries, is proud to be associated with this summit. And I want to assure you that Nile University is committed to play its role in ensuring that Nigeria and Nigerians and other countries around have quality and accessible education here at the Nile campus. I want to thank the organizers for making sure that everybody seated here understands the implication of the Sustainable Development Goals. The implication will certainly affect you and me, and indeed even the children yet to be born. And I'm sure Nigerian government, like any other government, is committed to ensure that the set objectives, the goals underlined, are taken very seriously, especially as the country sets out to address issues of poverty through the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, amongst others, and to ensure that there is food security and food for all and no hunger among Nigerians within the next, I think, 7 years more, because it's intended to be addressed by 2030. That does not in any way mean that we have to wait till 2030 to begin to feel the implementation process of these goals. I'm sure earlier this year or late last year, along the airport road, I saw pyramids of rice. I think these are positive steps by government to ensure that there's agricultural sustainability and food security in this country. I'm also aware that government is committed to ensure there's accessible education. Just 3 days ago, I was made to understand that government has approved 37 additional private universities for Nigeria and Nigerians. I'm sure this is part of the education plan or master plan within the context of the SDG. I want to thank everybody sitting here for finding time to be here. I believe that in the next 2 days, a lot of justice will be done to address these issues. As you know, that climate change is a raging problem, and part of the SDGs goals is to address that. I understand there will be a tree planting campaign right here on Nile Campus. I want all of us to actively participate and play our part as government continues with its genuine intention of creating a country we can all be proud of. I want to thank the panelists that will be working with these organizers this morning and tomorrow for finding time to be here in Nile Campus. Please take time off to go around and see our beautiful campus and find where you can key in. Here at Nile University, we have 46 undergraduate programs and 57 postgraduate programs. I'm sure there's no age to learning. I'm sure even the panel members will want to find a place that they can come and improve on their knowledge. Nile provides such an avenue, and will continue to work with the government and non-governmental agencies to ensure that the sustainable development goals of government and the UN is achieved to the fullest by the year 2030. I want to thank you for being here this morning, and I wish you a fruitful deliberation. Thank you, and God bless you.
Please, once again, let's put our hands together for the VC, Nile University. Sir, I want to say, indeed, I'm not just blowing smoke. I'm saying to you that what you run here looks like a very beautiful campus, and the number of undergraduate programs that you mentioned, I mean, it's worthy of another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so we're going to be talking a lot about SDGs, right? Sustainable Development Goals. I would just like to, now there's no pressure, but there might be some compensation if you do it right. I'd just like to call 1 or 2 people forward to give me, off the top of their heads, maybe like 6 of the Sustainable Development Goals without looking at Google. No, sir, you're not qualified. I don't. They all have it in their lap. Oh, so they can. I see. Okay, so I'm going to switch it up a little. Okay, do we have any secondary school students here? We do? Hi, ladies. Hello. I love your uniforms. She said thank you. It's almost the same shade of green that I'm wearing. You see what we're doing here? I see. Please rise. You there. Yeah, we're on the same vibe. Please rise. Yes, I'm talking to you. Please come. I just want to get a feel. What do you intend to study? What? Medicine. Please, can we give her a microphone? Please put our hands together for her. Yes. She intends. Okay. Sorry. Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on. Calm down. See, some people will have the SDGs on their T-shirts. I was going to ask a question that everybody knows. So, please tell us what school you're from, your name, and you've already said your profession, or your intended profession, but please tell us your name.
Well, hello, my name is Omokotum Abdulhamid Guti. I'm from Sheikh Abubakar Gumi Academy. I'm studying medicine. I'm in SS1, and I want to be a neurosurgeon.
Okay, now, how do you think that your intent to study neurosurgery will key into the Sustainable Development Goals? I said I'm switching it up, didn't I? I'm coming for the university. Who is whispering in that ear? Do you want me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Okay, so what I'm really going for is to know how being a neurosurgeon, yes, will help the objectives, will help to achieve any of the objectives. You being a neurosurgeon.
Part of the Sustainable Development Goals is number 3, which says good health and well-being.
Please, let her finish. I know her fan club is around, but let her finish. Please, continue.
Be able to improve the goal and how do I put
Make a
this?
contribution
Yes.
Yes. And, you know, I heard you sound very sure about being a neurosurgeon.
Yes.
So I'd like for you to say, not if, but when.
What?
You said if. So I'd like for you to rephrase from if to when. Okay, so it should be when I become.
When I become.
Yes. That's right. Please thank you very much. She's one person. I have a reward for you, by the way. Announce it. Next, I'd like to call on Saeed Tafida. Okay. Dr. Saeed Tafida to give us a bit of insight on the objectives the objectives of the university SDGs. Please put your hands together for Dr. Saeed. He's coming in from outside. I know he was the one who was telling me about the fact that you all have SDGs written on pieces of paper and right on this set piece in front of us. I also have information that we're going to be planting some trees today. Yay! Nobody's excited about planting trees? Yes! You are really excited about those trees. You know, the SDGs are split into different major objectives. One of them is to stem the hard trend of. Oh, once again, please put your hands together for Dr. Saeed.
Okay. Good morning, all. First of all, I want to sincerely apologize to both our online and our student participants that are here. We promised to start this by 10. We started it at 11. It's not our culture. It's just trying to set things right. Please, I want to hear that you're forgiven. Can I get that row? Even if you don't mean it, I have it on record that you've said it. Thank you all for being here. And second, also, I want to appreciate our students who have made time to be here. At the same time, our special guests who've also made time to be here. Some of us went out to have the paparazzi picture with the VC, and also to appreciate the VC for creating the space. But most important thing is those of us who we have seated here. Why are we here? I'm supposed to tell us the objectives of why we're gathered here. We've been hearing that the Sustainable Development Goals are a UN creation. If they say something is a UN creation or something that is meant that started from the United Nations, does it mean it is away from us, or does it mean it is ours, or does it mean we are supposed to own it? As young people, we're told that we're the future of tomorrow. I know some of us have been protesting that those ones who were leading in the past are still the ones leading today. But when it comes to SDGs, the stories is different. Because in reality, we will not even have the tomorrow if we did not hold these goals right. Because when there's an environmental insecurity and there's no home to stay, it won't be called home. Then we have to save that home. When there's poverty and so much level of insecurity and crime, we won't have home, so we have to have home. When there's imbalances in the government as an institution, now each of these things I'm mentioning speaks to one of the specific SDG goals. So it's not about something designed that comes up in a cube. It is about our reality that we have to face together. Then it has to be part of our discussion. It has to be part of our topics. When she wants to go to study medicine, it has to be part of what she wants to solve. When you want to become an economist, it has to be part of what you want to solve. When you want to become a road constructionist as an engineer, it should be what you want to work upon. So we want to take these things back to you. I don't want to say that our leaders has failed us. Everybody has a different belief and a felt that he has in his mind. But one thing I can tell you for sure is all of us has the opportunity to make it better. Now, and back to why we're here. We're here today to explore, break, open, make it clear what is it that makes up the Sustainable Development Goals. And the aim is to do it to you, the students, and our young ones, including our secondary school students, who we're hoping will even have a brighter and a better future for us. Because it is believed that whatever is yesterday for each one of us here has passed. And the future is always going to be something that we're predicting. But what we have today is what we decide to plan. And hence, that's why it's even called the present. And we all know present as a form of a gift, right? So we're here to break that, to see how best we can do that. Second, also, we want to see how best do we make sure that we enshrine this SDG design into our system while we take it forward. Among the discussions we'll be having is also to get the realities of what is going on the SDGs. When I'm saying SDGs, again here, I'm not referring to some abstract form of names and numbers. I'm referring to about the goals and how do we create a sustainable way of living in the future. So what is our reality? How close are we to eradicating poverty? How close are we to having a more inclusive education? How close are we to creating and closing gender gap? How close are we to making sure we have stronger institutions? And how close are we for partnership that will create the result that is required to build the system? So we'll be working, we're going to take a speech from the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President, and thank you for making time to be part of this, and we appreciate you for coming. We'll also be taking input from Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on social investment. She's supposed to also be here this morning, but because of tight schedules, she was giving her remarks tomorrow. She'll be part of us. The Nigerian Governors Forum, they've been calling as I'm talking now, which means they're trying to locate their way into this hall. So we're bringing everybody that matters to talk to us so that we can ask questions as much as we want. If we really want to control the future, we think this is the way to do it. And I don't have any other bigger objectives than this. This, we're here today. This will be here tomorrow. But most important thing is, what did you take it? What did you take from this? And what did you plan to do from it in the future? Thank you all, and thank you for coming.
Please, once again, please put your hands together for Dr. Syed. He did exhibit a lot of passion for this subject. And I think that more than us talking about SDGs, we need to begin to make plans within our circles of influence, our places of position, to solve these problems. The problems of hunger, the problems of climate change, economics, gender equality. These things are not as far away from us as they appear to be. You know, we need to do things with innovation and change infrastructure. There's so much that we need to take action on, and I'm really glad that we're having these conversations today. We are going to be having some goodwill messages that will be they will be giving to us. I have a short list of people, of some of our partners and some of our special invitees who are going to come forward and give us their goodwill messages. First on our list is Mr. Mukhtar Modibo, Follow the Money International. He's the Secretary General of Follow the Money International. Please put your hands together for him.
Lawal, who could not be here because he just landed. You know, some people are following night buses while some people are flying, right? So my speech has always been getting people angry, right? The fact that we happens to be in this hall because we're a student of Nile, or in one way or the other we can speak English, not our own native languages, it's a problem, right? The SDG is not speaking about anything, but it's speaking about education, it's speaking about hunger, it's speaking about climate change, and it's speaking about collaboration and partnership, which is in one way or the other intertwined together, right? So I just want us to know this is an important session, in as much as we have our own education to pursue, but we should know that there is a reality and a context of life that we have to face. There is a couple of numbers of, let's say there is not accurate data of how many out-of-school children we have in this country. From UNESCO, we have 15 point something million, and from UNICEF, we have 10 point something million. I just want you to understand that if your child or if your brother is going to school, he or she will come back and face those that are not going to school, and that will affect that person, right? So we need to put that at the back of our mind. And if you think you live in the bigger areas of the city, you should understand that there is what is called climate change, and it will consume us one and consume us all. The best thing we can do is to save one and save all. So like I said, there are a lot of problems. The fact that you are able to eat food breakfast, lunch, and dinner does not mean each and every one of us is eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We should also need to understand that those people matters, right? And to cover it all, I want to say that as a young person, as a youth, it's not just the implication. The implication is not just being youth. If you're 20 today, you'll be 21 next year. If you're 21 this year, you'll be 22 next year, right? We need to sustain ourselves. We need to save ourselves. We need to create hope. We need to create belief, and we need to create trust. Like I said, I'm here to represent my boss. Whatever I said that is good is from him. Whatever I said that is bad is from me, right? Hold me accountable. And I will say thank you for hosting us, Nile University, and to the office of the Senior Special Advisor to the President on SDG. We want to say thank you for partnering with us to do that. And other partners that are here to discuss about this important gathering, it's a thank you to you. And I will leave you with this. In life, I think there is no any other thing that we can do but to create legitimacy, build credibility, create hope, provide service, and hold ourselves accountable. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mukhtar, for being very brief and concise. Once again, please put your hands together for him. Another goodwill message. This one is coming from the DRPC. I'd like to welcome the Executive Director, the DRPC, Dr. Judith Ann Walker. Please put your hands together for her. Please put your hands together for her.
Good morning, everybody. I'm actually representing Dr. Walker. Unfortunately, she couldn't be with us here today. So permit me to stand on all existing protocols. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Hannah Hashim, and I am the Business Development and Sustainability Manager at the DRPC, representing Dr. Walker from the DRPC, who is the Executive Director. She regrettably could not attend today due to other commitments, so we sincerely apologize for that, but she sends her well wishes. So to start off, the DRPC congratulates the organizers of this summit, Nile University for hosting it, as well as other partners. We salute the resilience of the Nigerian youth and college students working together in attaining the sustainability development goals as part of the global partnership and strategies to ensure sustainability growth, social cohesion, economic prosperity, and universal rights for a peaceful world where all humans are considered equal. This summit has come at a very strategic time where climate action highlighted under SDG 13 is affecting every single country in the world, especially the African continent. Unfortunately, children are not spared as climate change increases their vulnerability to diseases, weather, health, and brain development. Most recently, studies in Nigeria have shown that while in the northern region, they're experiencing 50 to 75% desertification, affecting their livelihood of at least 40 million people in 11 northern states. But this is not to say that the other parts of Nigeria have not been affected. In the southern and northern central regions, we've seen a plague which has been shown in heavy rainfalls. I mean, just last year we saw the rainfall that completely blocked anybody coming in from Abuja, but nobody processes things like that. It is extremely, extremely worrying because nothing could be done, unfortunately. There's also green gas emission and intense temperature affecting over 2.4 million people in 2020 alone. Some of us that sort of go back home, maybe to Kano, Borno, I'm sure you have seen the heat that is in those cities and states. More recently, when the fasting just happened, people were actually congratulating them for fasting completely during Ramadan because the heat was ridiculous. But this is all linked to climate action and climate change. Climate change is a strong area of interest to us at the DRPC, which aligns with our current implemented Safe School projects aimed at addressing the emerging emergencies in education. The DRPC is an intermediary nonprofit established by 10 former university lecturers from ABU and BUK in 1994, with the main mission to build organizational and technical capacity within CSOs and government to work together in an inclusive development model. Some of our focus areas, not all, but just some, which are more specifically tailored to what's happening here today, it's education. Under education, we have girl-child education, female education, not just the girl child. We also have health, which covers every aspect, maternal health, primary health care under one roof, and some of our social livelihoods, which directly aligns with SDG 3, 4, 5, 16, and by extension, SDG 17. Since its formation, the DRPC has consistently designed and implemented development projects where it has trained, mentored, and provided seed funds for CSOs and numerous government ministries, departments, and agencies at the national and subnational level, supporting effective participation and promotion of good governance. We are pleased to be partnering again with the University SDG to organize its second summit following the 2020 University SDG Summit held at ABU Zaria. While wishing you an impactful and successful deliberation, we hope that this is a partnership that will continue as part of our strategic collaboration with relevant and like-minded associations like yourself. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Please put your hands together for her once again. Okay. Our final goodwill message for the day. I mean, I bring you goodwill. I bring you plenty of goodwill, so I'm still here, and I'm going to be bringing plenty of that. But officially, from Governors Forum, Mr. Ehosa M. Omoigwe, the head stakeholder relationship on SDGs. Please put your hands together for him as he comes forward. Don't stop clapping, come on. Sir, I do sincerely hope that I did not butcher your name, but just in case I did, I apologize profusely.
It's all right. Yes, thank you. Hi, how's everyone doing? Great. So it's a quarter to afternoon, so it's appropriate to say good morning. My name is Egosa Omoigwe. I'm the head stakeholder relationship, and I'm an assistant director with the Nigeria Governors Forum. I bring goodwill and greetings from our chairman, the executive governor of Sokoto State, Governor Tambuwal, also from the Director General, Mr. Achishana Okaro. I had the stakeholder relationship and the SDG desk at the Secretariat, and I was very excited to receive this invitation because being in the presence of young people shows that there is hope, especially when young people come together and they talk about the future. The universal goals is something we have in common on the planet. You know, the world is, we have divergent issues, divergent views on a lot of things, but there are a few things that the world has come together to agree upon, and the Sustainable Development Goals is one of them. I'm happy to be here on behalf of the Secretariat, which is here in Abuja, and to extend the hand of fellowship to the organizers of this event, that there is an organization, there is a system out there to support the implementation of the SDGs. I think one of the things that are challenging us beyond Goal 4, which is quality education, is also the impact on the environment. Climate change, the last speaker mentioned that, and there are steps that have been taken, you know, from the NGF to partner with world bodies to see how we can mitigate climate change and also put in the adaptation strategies as well. So just to make it very brief, I know it's a very short day we have here. We bring greetings, and we're happy to be in the midst of young minds who have the future of the world at heart. Together we will achieve these goals, and I think I just need to mention this. Nigeria does have some reportage out there on these goals. But at the subnational level, we do not have concrete data. I'm pleased to announce here that the NGF is working on an SDG tracker on the subnational level where each state can have accountability for its performance on the whole 17 goals. We are thankful to partners like the UNICEF and other donor agencies who have been helping Nigeria so far to report data on education, on health, on clean water, Goal 5. You know, but then there's still much more that can be done. We have 162 targets with so many indicators underneath the 17 goals. I'm happy to be here. Working with you, we will achieve all this. Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much. And I dare say that the tracker, the tracker that you spoke about is very laudable, and I think that we should just really appreciate our leaders from the Governors Forum across the states for doing something like that that helps us track how our performance goes from state to state for the SDGs. Please put your hands together for them. Thank you very much to the Nigeria's governors, the Governors Forum. Right now, we're going to be moving to, so today is a day where we're going to be speaking to each other about this quite a bit. And our next speaker is the SSA to the President on SDGs, Princess Adejoke Orelokwe Adefolire. Please put your hands together for her as she comes forward. Thank you for honoring us with your presence, and please don't stop clapping till she arrives here. Oh, I think she's ably represented because a man approaches. He just said he for she.
He for she.
Go there. Go.
I think I will collect yours. I will be using the two. Where are you? Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's still morning. Good morning to you all. I bring the warm greetings of she, that is Her Excellency, the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Sustainable Development Goals, Princess Dr. Mrs. Adejoke Orelokwe Adefolire, CFR, who would have loved to be here herself to address this very important gathering, but because of the exigencies of duties, she's also attending another important national assignment elsewhere, and she asks one of the management staff of OSAP SDGs to represent her on this special summit. I'm happy to introduce to you She for She, representing the SSAP on SDGs on this assignment, but a man will just read through the speech of the SSAP. Join me to welcome the actual representative of the SSAP in this forum, Mrs. Patricia Aniwe. You're welcome, ma. I also work for the office, and I was asked as an errand boy to present to you a keynote address. The voice is that of mine, but the words that are coming are from the SSAP through Madam Patricia that is here with us. I want to quickly recognize the students that are leaving. I know that we didn't start as scheduled. Probably they may have to go back to the school, but their presence in this gathering is very, very important. I also want to recognize, even though not physically here with us today, but we are told that she should be here with us tomorrow, that is the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Social Investment, Mrs. Mariam Weiss MFR, the representative of the UNDP, well recognized, other development partners here with us, the students of Nile University, Nigeria here in Abuja, the representative of the Nigerian Governors Forum, the representatives of the Transparency and Accountability in Totality, that is the organizers of this event, the representatives of other partners, both state governments, the We Care Foundation, Sender, and other partners. I also wish to recognize, even though because of the exigencies of duty, he's not here with us, the Vice Chancellor of Nile University of Nigeria, Professor Dili Dogo, who was with us earlier today, but he had to leave because of exigencies of duty. other distinguished and invited guests here present, and if we have others online, you're also recognized. Permit me to stand here before you this morning, close to an afternoon, to present to you the keynote address from Her Excellency, the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Sustainable Development Goals. She's not here with us physically, as I mentioned, but spiritually, she is with us, and she has the passion for this summit. It gives me great pleasure to join you all today and be part of this strategic 2023 Universities SDG Summit happening here in Niger Hall of the Nile University of Nigeria. The theme, which was the active citizen participation, economic growth, and how to drive more partnerships for the goals. And let me, from the outset, use this opportunity to appreciate the transparency and accountability in totality, the followers of taxes, as well as all other partners for leading this process, and to all other partners in leading this process, because it's very central and important to the attainment of sustainable development goals. As a way of background, I understand that we have different categories of the audience. So I just want to quickly take us back to the history, because it's very important you understand history to know where we're coming from, where we are, and where we're going to. The concept of sustainable development got its prominence in 1987 with the publication of the United Nations Brundtland Report, which is popularly known as our common future. In that report, the sustainable development was defined as that kind of development that take care of the present and without jeopardizing the future generations to take care of themselves from the available resources we have. So in that case, what we are doing today is for us and for those unborn children of tomorrow. Therefore, it is important that we take very close look at what is in the Sustainable Development Goals and see how we contribute effectively and efficiently for the government to achieve the implementation of the goals. They are called with different names: global goals, ambitious goals, and the rest of them. Indeed, academia, ministries, departments, and agencies of government, as well as non-state actors, are key partners with the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Sustainable Development Goals in the discharge of our collective mandate embedded in the transformative promise of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The 2030 Agenda is a universal call to action for the United Nations member states to address critical global challenges of our time, which border on the economic, social, and environmental issues. Ultimately, the SDGs are Nigeria's opportunity to provide a common plan and agenda to tackle some of the pressing challenges facing our country, such as poverty, illiteracy, unemployment, inequality, injustice, insecurity, climate change, and many other issues facing our dear nation. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you will agree with me that this year's theme is expected to galvanize action towards integrated and coherent implementation of sustainable development goals in Nigeria. This references to dynamic approach to the attainment of global goals, as the academia serves as a reservoir of knowledge and development bridges of any nation. To this end, we must encourage creativity, technology, innovation, and more partnerships to enable us direct focus of the academia towards attainment of sustainable development goals through partnerships in research and development. Let us leverage on the power of these institutions to harness and mobilize actions to support government in accelerating the implementation of 17 Sustainable Development Goals in Nigeria through the whole of government and whole of society approaches, especially Goals 8 on decent work and economic growth, Goal 9 on industry, innovation, and infrastructure, Goal 11 on sustainable cities and communities, Goal 13 on climate action, and all other goals and targets. Remember that these goals are interrelated and interconnected. An achievement of one goal cannot stand on its own. There must be connection with other goals. Permit me to say that this summit is a welcome development, and it serves a pivotal role in advocacy and sensitization for the youth and other important segments of our society who are critical in ensuring that no one is left behind by the time we arrive at 2030. We are all aware that partnerships for the goals, which is the Goal 17, require understanding and sustainability, the sustainability framework of the SDGs, as well as broadest conceivable awareness about the SDGs among the subnational stakeholders, leveraging on the multilateral approaches, both vertically and horizontally. Vertically at the federal, states, and local governments, and horizontally at the federal ministries, departments, and agencies, as well as all other non-state actors in the process. This entails effective communication through consultations, engagement, collaboration with the federal MDAs, that's ministry, department, and agencies, development partners, civil society organizations, the organized private sector, academia, faith-based organizations, traditional institutions, trade unions, and other community-based organizations, as well as concerned citizens, including vulnerable populations. So with this, you understand that everybody is involved in the implementation of sustainable development goals, directly or indirectly, whether you are in the public or private sector. Similarly, it is of great importance to translate the 17 Sustainable Development Goals in Nigerian academic institutions, especially now that we are in decade of delivery. We popularly call it decade of action, that is 2020 to 2030, and we must therefore not look only at the progress made so far, but also look at the future and ambitious actions needed to get Nigeria in particular and Africa in general on track. The challenges we face in our efforts to achieve SDGs are numerous, complex, and multifaceted. Nevertheless, with all stakeholders working together, including the academia, we have this will serve and as exemplified in what we are doing today, and we will certainly overcome these challenges. It is instructive to note that these approaches were used in the integral framework for medium-term national development plan of 2021 to 2025 to improve Nigeria's economic competitiveness with a GDP growth rate that drives job creation, generates inclusive national growth, and lifts at least 25 million youths out of poverty. It is worthy of note that the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Sustainable Development Goals has partnered with relevant stakeholders at the national and subnational levels, including what the representative of the Nigerian Governance Forum mentioned, because the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Sustainable Development Goals is the national coordinating office for the goals. So we partner with subnationals and we report to the UN all the activities happening at the federal and the state levels. I'm happy to emphasize that we don't work in silos. We work in collaboration with all relevant partners within government and out of the government. I also want to inform us that that effort is towards mainstreaming the SDGs into the development plans of the states, where we partner with the states, 36 states, and the FCT in the development of the state development plans in collaboration with the United Nations Development Program. We also are happy to inform those, even though some of us may be aware, that our President Muhammadu Buhari launched at the 77th session of the United Nations General Assembly in September last year, launched the Nigeria Integrated Financing Framework, which elaborates on the domestic and external sources of funding for the implementation of the goals, both within the public and the private sector. It has an established fact that academic or academia are centers for research, knowledge, and innovation, and plays crucial roles in the socio-economic development of our nation. Therefore, individually and collectively, universities in general, university in particular, and academia in general, have the capacity to extend the territorial reach of the state, and in so doing, catalyze sustainable development. With the Vice Chancellor informed us of the number of programs that the university is running in different fields. All those programs of the university and other universities, by the time you sit down, you look at them critically, you find out that they are connected to these global goals. So irrespective of what you are studying, you are a critical partner to assist Nigerian government in attainment of sustainable development goals. I have borrowed time from other speakers that didn't use. This is the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on SDGs, and we take advantage to catch them young. This very important. It is their commitment to the successful implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals, including those that are specific to active citizen participation and economic growth. I urge you all, on behalf of she, to participate actively in this all-important summit. I hope this forum will strengthen our resolve to work closely together in support of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development in Nigeria. I thank you all on behalf of my madam, Mrs. Patricia Anibui, for the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Sustainable Development Goals. Thank you very much, distinguished ladies and gentlemen.
Please put your hands together for him. Thank you so much. I saw what you did there when you borrowed time, sir. Thank you. So we have been having quite a bit of, we've had a few speeches, and I know that, you know, the ground is wet for us to be excited about something a little more. We need some drama, something to spice this up a little bit. So we have some spoken word poetry, which is going to be delivered by Jawahi Kamilu. Please put your hands together for her.
Have you heard of the butterfly effect? How a single flap from the wings of a butterfly can cause tornadoes in another end of the world. How a small wrong turn of Archduke Franz Ferdinand's car set off the chain of events that led to the First World War. To call it a butterfly is not to imply gentleness, but to highlight the smallness of the wind it ripples compared to the disastrous gales that come later. So what is impact? You see letters, I see revolution. You see a word, I see change. And while you think that you're too little to have any meaningful influence on what is wrong with the world, with the butterfly effect, I may have just cracked the code. That you do not need to make a lifelong pact with nature to have an impact on climate change. Nor do you have to paint every wall in the world like Picasso with colors to make the world a better place. You do not need to donate millions or build NGOs to solve world hunger and poverty. And I may not touch many with the words that I speak, but I can move mountains rooted into the earth with the passion from every drop of ink, the words cascading down my tongue like fire, with no other mission than to inspire the desire to make the little difference that you require. On a stage with an audience of barely 200 people, I can make an impact on you and you and you. Because a single flap from the wings of a butterfly can cause tornadoes in another end of the world. And to call it a butterfly is not to imply gentleness, oh no, but to highlight the smallness of the wind it ripples compared to the disastrous gales that come later. So it's about time we made our own impact. Just simply choosing not to litter can make the world better. Fixing it all may seem to take forever, but it was almost 1,000 naira to $1 just a few months ago, as far as I can remember. The pressure is getting worse. Knowing that somewhere in the chaotic order of life you're choosing not to lift a finger can cause a turn in history and time, it's about time we got our individual acts together. The smallest things matter, and we are all little necessary parts of something greater, connected to a bigger system, interconnected gears, one not functioning without the other. From the tiniest bumblebee to the giant blue whale. Every single one of us, a pivotal piece in the general assembly of time and space, chaotic order. It's like God's own supercomputer. It's how a single flap from the wings of a butterfly can cause tornadoes in another end of the world. And to call it a butterfly is not to imply gentleness, but to highlight the smallness of the wind it ripples compared to the disastrous gales that come later. It's about time we made our own impact. Starting today, starting with you and me. Good day, everyone. I'm Jawahir Kamilu Malam, a spoken word artist. And the poem I just presented is titled Impact, the Butterfly Effect. We at Nile University, Nigeria, center our efforts around making an impact with the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And we want to tell you today that you do not need to move a mountain to change a life. The title of my second poem is An Ode to the Perfection That You Are. This is an ode to every woman that was, is, and will be. I've always wondered, is there a metaphor enough for you? Whose tears and sweat water the soil that is pregnant with seeds of kingdoms and nations, lords and warriors innate of the earth, born of the celestial carafe that is your body within you. The physical and the spiritual become one. Oh woman, hear me. There is no blueprints put down for how your body should look. Your angles and curves were not carved for an esthetic gratification. You're more than just a piece necessary for those who crave societal validation. So embrace the bulge that is right above your waistline. It is the totem of your femininity. You see, you put the you in beautiful. You're the color of love that the blind can see. Your voice is the sound of magic, your words the musical notes of wonderful that even the deaf can hear. And yet, there is no metaphor enough to define the perfection that you are. So do me a favor and pardon my surplus rendition, for I am merely a poet attempting to describe God's most intricate creation. And excuse me if I falter in my speech. Forgive my excesses. for I am filled when I simply think of your incredible being. Woman, pick up the pieces of you that you let fall to the gravity of stereotypes. You weren't sculpted so carefully to be a dust mat or a quiet alleyway. Command the greatness that is woven into every atom of your being. Become the majesty you were destined by God to be. Even nature grovels at your feet. If labor rooms could speak, they'd sing praises of your incredible being. Only through you can nature's essence ever be complete. So indulge me. Who tells you you're anything less than the queen your crown presents you to be? Some might say you a flower, delicate and dainty. Others may call you home, a nurturing mother. Many may reckon you the moon, the trophy earth puts on display every night. They may even label you a force, a growing storm to be reckoned with. And yet, there is no metaphor enough to define the perfection that you are. In the great words of Maya Angelou, I am a woman phenomenally. Phenomenal woman, that's me. Yours poetically, Jawahir. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Please put your hands together for Jawahir once again. Jawahir, you should send, I think that you're going to make a sound here and everybody in the world is going to hear that. Please, once again, celebrate the talent that is Jawahir. I like to do some work with Jawahir later, so let's see. Don't run away. Yeah? Okay. Yes, next up, we're going to have a 20-minute fireside chat, I beg your pardon, on universal basic education for all. I'm going to call on the speakers. I see first here the Chief Executive of Connected Development and Follow the Money, Ahmed Inua, please. I beg your pardon. Hamza Lawal, the Chief Executive of Connected Development, and from Follow the Money, Ahmed Inua. Please put your hands together for them as they come forward. We also have our host, who will be the moderator of this session, Zahila Lawal, Head SDGs and CODE at Follow the Money. Please put your hands together for them. Don't stop clapping. I think we need another microphone for them.
Thank you. Mukhtar? I know. Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Zaliha Lawal. I work for Connected Development and as programs manager and also SDGs coordinator for Follow the Money in 10 African countries. And today we'll be discussing about universal basic education for all. And we understand how important, how critical education is and the state at which we are currently in our basic education. So let's just give maybe a second for people to settle down. Okay. So we understand how critical basic education is, and knowing that the Nigeria Constitution or the Nigeria law provides for free 9 compulsory education for every Nigerian child. But we still have over 20 million out-of-school children in Nigeria with different or various policies, programs that have been created or implemented by government and other donor organizations. But these numbers are not decreasing. And we're also looking at Goal 4 here, where the first target is also talking about universal basic education, how critical it is, and how the education provides life skills for every Nigerian child, or should provide life skills for every Nigerian child. With me today, we'll be discussing around the universal basic education and why it's important as young people to invest our time, our resources. We are in an institution, so how can you, during your project, your research, ensure that you develop sustainable innovations to ensure that every Nigerian child gets access to quality education? So we have with me two Mukhtars. And so just to give a brief of what they do and why we're here. So by my right now, I have Mr. Suleiman Muhammad Mukhtar. He's a communications strategist specializing in behavioral change and the role of media in shaping information-seeking behaviors and government policies. He has over 10 years experience as a media and communications professional, working in different development organizations and international partners, developing strategies for series of projects. Also, I have by my left, Mukhtar Halilu Modibo. He's a governance, transparency, and accountability expert with experience working in marginalized grassroots communities in Africa. He leads the community engagement of Follow the Money across 36 states in Nigeria and 10 African countries. His role, he coordinates over 20,000 young people. So when you know Follow the Money, our strength is around mobilization, and we have a large number of young people doing that, working around governance and transparency and accountability. In his role at Connected Development, he's responsible for stakeholder management and dialogue with policymakers in line with Follow the Money mission. And before I go straight to the chat, I'd like to recognize my boss is here, Hamzat Lawal. He was able to join in earlier. I don't know if we'll give him like 5 minutes so Hamzat can give a goodwill message.
Sitting down.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm really sorry I'm late. I just came in from London this morning, and yes. Mukhtar, please come back and sit down. Come back, come sit. My name is Hamzat Lawal, and I like to be called an activist. The SDG is important because it's going to define development trajectory from now to 2030. But I think most importantly is how citizens take ownership, how we can simplify the SDGs, how we can localize it, and most importantly, educate the Nigerian people to understand what she is going to achieve with it. The script is not working for you and I. The UN SDG campaign has said, let's flip the script. But how can we flip the script when we don't have knowledge, we don't have information, there's not enough data, and government is not engaging as much as she should have engaged the Nigerian people to achieve the SDGs? And I think also, what are the most important aspects of the SDGs that relates to you and I? Today we're dealing with insecurity. We're dealing with hunger. We're dealing with unemployment, unprecedented. We're dealing with lack of energy, no decent job. The economic growth is slow. So how can we take goals in the SDGs that relates to you and I, and we can use it to mobilize action, working with government, private institution, academics, civil society, and most importantly, the media. But in achieving this, we must take ownership. Yes, our government have signed on this treaty, but the people who have given government the mandate, and for me, I think the subnational government should do much more. I'm proud to have worked with the Kaduna State government, for instance, because they are the first person who actually simplifies the SDGs and ensure that their development plan is tied to the SDGs. And I think this would also go a long way on the open government partnership, because you must continue to provide framework and institutionalizing this framework, because government would come and go, but institutions would remain. And I think that the Honorable Commissioner for Education in Bauchi State is in the hall, and I think I need to give her a big shout out. I've never met her before, but I've seen a poster. Oh yes. Because these are examples of young people that are in government that we must rally around. I believe in solidarity. And if we have more of her type in government, and that's why I continue to advocate for young people in politics and government, because the change will not happen if we continue to carry placards and lead campaigns on the street. The change would actually happen on those policy and decision-making tables. We have the numbers. Let's use that numbers and drive the actions that we want. On this note, I want to thank you and say again, sorry I came a bit late. I'm jet lagged, so I'm struggling to stay awake. So Mukhtar, please continue to represent me on this panel. And I'm here to listen, to network, but most importantly for us to work together to achieving the SDGs by 2030. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's my boss. And now we'll go to the fireside chat. So it's just going to be a conversation, and maybe I should start from my right. So Mukhtar, can you just introduce yourself in 1 minute, what you do around education, most importantly, universal basic education?
Hi everyone, good afternoon. I think we're in afternoon already. My name is Suleiman Mukhtar, and as she has rightly stated, I am a communications professional across all board. Primarily, what I have focused on in terms of education is seeing how best we can equip students with the necessary information that is required for them to be able to tilt their career path towards the SDGs. Because if that is done, that's like a blueprint, so to speak, for each and every one of us. For us to make money, all of us, we do as much as possible to talk about the likes of Jeff Bezos, the likes of Bill Gates, Aliko Dangote, etc. But one of the key things that each and every one of these people have in common is that they are problem solvers. So the United Nations have said there's no need for you to think about what the problems are. We are going to give you a narrative of what those problems are. So you find a way to ensure that your career path actually solves that particular problem that you're actually most interested in. So no matter the career path you're actually trying to pursue, there are about 17 goals and about 100 plus targets, in the subset targets under these things. You can actually tie yourself towards that. So what we've been working on is to see how we can educate more and more people to know how best they can actually target their career path around this particular 17 goals. Thank you.
I'll stay with you. So you talked about the Sustainable Development Goals, or the United Nations sitting together and identifying the problems and the path that we can take. And I want you to discuss, in line with the problems and in line with the work you've done, we're talking about universal basic education now. What are those things, or what are the things you've seen on field that shows the gap in our basic education in Nigeria?
Largely, I think it will fall down to applicability of knowledge. And this is like a two-way responsibility. One of it has to do with the school, and the other part of it has to do with the students themselves. One of the few things I think I was very privileged to understand while I was a student is the necessity to understand the practical aspect of the theories I was being taught in classrooms. And the only way you can actually do this is, a typical example is what we are doing here today. Very few students actually understand the pertinence of having to sit down in summits and conferences like this so that they can actually understand better. For those of us who are Muslims here, there's a poem by Bono Muhammad that says that you can't begin to learn what you think you already know. That is arrogance. That is huge arrogance. So I think I was very fortunate when I was a student to understand this to a large extent. So it enabled me know what kind of fora, the several fora I could actually plant myself into to understand these things. And I had the help of a lot of people. And that is one of the most important parts that students have to actually try as much as possible to create for themselves. From your lecturers who lecture you in your classrooms. For me, it was the likes of Dr. Said, Hamzat Lawal, who just left the stage, the Honorable Commissioner of Education, who is seated in front here, and a whole lot of other people who are not here today. who actually helped in guiding the process for me. So I think it's something that you need to do for yourself as well. Because for me, as a personal philosophy, I'm going to speak personally anyway, and personal experience, what your lecturer is teaching you in class is what they should teach you in class. That is what they should teach you in class. So it is your personal responsibility, student organizations that you can join that enables you know where. Let me give you an example. Let me cut the many English. A typical example was when I was in school, I was an Enactus student. Enactus Ahmadu Bello University. I was an Enactus student. And we wanted to go for the World Cup. We had just qualified for the nationals and wanted to go for the World Cup to represent Nigeria in the US. So we're designing systems, aquaponic systems. We didn't have money. As students, we didn't have money to call in a specialist or import an aquaponic system. So we had to design aquaponic systems ourselves. We started learning from YouTube. That day we understood the meaning of the YDX. You know, we make that joke where we say the YDX has no use in life. That's because we are largely a consumer nation. If you're a production nation, when you want to do simulation analysis and assessment of systems, all of these mathematics actually become very, very important. So students need to learn how to coordinate themselves from that angle, know how to marry what you're doing in classroom to the applicability. Volunteer, please work for free. Very, very important. Also try as much as possible. Do a lot of free work. It also helps to augment the knowledge that you're actually getting from school so that you can actually get more qualitative education in how to solve real life problems.
Okay, thank you. So I'll go to Mukhtar. Just introduce yourself. I know you're a GP fellow and also an education advocate. So you would introduce yourself, what you do. He was talking about the YDX, science, and all. And also, I would want you to talk about how our secondary education is faring currently in Nigeria in relation to STEM, because you just talked about science. So we have science, technology, engineering, and mathematics as the way forward in the world today. But when you look at our institutions, it's not like I'm condemning management sciences or art courses. They are very beautiful courses because we need them. But when it comes to development and innovation, we understand how critical STEM is. And we can see in other nations, right from their primary school, they try to streamline their ideology into STEM. I'm also a public administration student, so sometimes I regret, why did I study that? Because, but on a lighter note, Mukhtar.
All right, so first of all, right, I always want to try to get us from where we're coming from. We all need to understand that there is no education without money, right? So education financing is key, right? And we also need to understand that Nigeria has been into a lot of treaties, right? Treaties in the sense that, okay, we've had the UNESCO, the UNESCO saying 10 to 15% of every country's budget should go to education. That's the benchmark, all right? Now, finances of education is 2%, right? Then there is what is called matching grants. The state provides some certain amount of money, 50%, and then the federal provide that, and then we get that. Now, calculate for the past 15 years that I and you will know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe someone will know more than that, but I only know 15 years down the line, we've not had or we've not gotten up to that certain percentage. We've always in between 9, 8, and then at some point in our life, we got to 10% and then we dropped, right? So the reality is education cannot thrive without infrastructural development, that is conducive learning environment, teacher professional training, that is retraining of those teachers and what have you. So these are the challenges we've been facing. Now, what were the way forward? Now, the way forward was implementing policies that are innovative enough for students to understand that, oh, okay, we're in 21st century. If you're teaching with chalkboards before, you ought to be teaching with whiteboard for now, right? Of which we are likely getting close to that because education had its own different categories, right? But for me, I know I've been big on advocating for funds. And that's what I did all through my time as the GP youth leader in Nigeria, advocating for education financing. Now, if you move towards what were the policies government implemented for those children in schools, from primary school, secondary school to the tertiary institutions, we've had issues of early grade learning, right? From conditional cash transfer to school feeding and what have you. These are all policies that that makes people or pupils come and learn. But do they have teachers? I bet you this. I came in from, I did not come. I was in Sokoto somewhere last week, and I was in a local government called Sabombirni. We went to a school. The school has 16 teachers, right? In the 16 teachers, 15 of them, all of them studied Hausa and social studies, right? And some of them are teaching English, some of them are teaching mathematics and what have you. What do you expect someone that studies Hausa source? Let me not say all of them. Some of them actually studies Hausa religion, right? And that's the point. So, to come back to science and technology, we cannot thrive without that point of financing. And if financing is available, the next point is that point of teachers should be able to teach, and teachers should be able to take jobs, not because they have not gotten job elsewhere. That's why they say, oh, co-teaching in now, go and do.
Thank you, Mukhtar.
Thank you.
So you're talking about the financing of education, basic education in Nigeria. So just to mention, there's the Universal Basic Education Act that gives 9 free and compulsory education for Nigerian child. And you're also talking about the 15-20% of education budgets. But you would need to also understand that when we are talking about basic education, the education budget covers all levels of education from basic to secondary, senior secondary, and also tertiary. Okay, thank you. And also tertiary. And then you look at performance. So we need to also draw the line. What is the percentage of our education that should go into basic education, for instance, knowing that it is the most important level of education, which is compulsory. So how many percent of budget should go into basic education? Let's not lump it together with tertiary education, because everywhere in the world, it's not compulsory when it comes to tertiary. It's not the responsibility of government. I think these are things that we should also look at when we are advocating. We also know that there's, it's 3% of the consolidated revenue funds that goes into basic education, where the state government and the federal government join funds together. And it will amaze us that most of the state governments or state governors are not even funding basic education. They rather leave the money with CBN. I know for some states, for the past 3-5 years, they've not accessed that funding. So what can we do as citizens? Or what can we, as citizens here, as students? Because I feel the essence of this gathering is for young people in this institution to go back, reflect, and look at sustainable solutions. So what can we do in line with Open Government Partnership? Because I know we're all members of Open Government Partnership. What can we do as advocates to create measures to address the issues around the challenges we're facing when it comes to basic education in Nigeria?
All right, thank you. I think I will tie that. You sort of actually said something I would want to respond to, which is tied out to what Mukhtar was saying about education financing. As a matter of personal principle, I do not think that the subsidy for tertiary education should exist at tertiary level. I've always said that subsidy should be moved to basic education. If we do that, we can increase universal basic education. This is why. And a lot of people will kill me for it and say, because I'm already done with school, that's why I hold this position. But not necessarily. I've always said it, even as a 200 level student. Education at tertiary level does not necessarily define your literacy level. It is your basic education that actually defines your literacy level. In countries like China and other Asian countries, and even some Nordic countries as well, you get to find that 7-year-olds are being taught how to code. They are doing advanced coding, which is the STEM that she's actually mentioning, talking about that the world is actually moving into. So it has become very important that Nigeria actually reassesses its idea about what tertiary education means. I know that simply means that university education will become very expensive, but it doesn't necessarily mean that everybody who goes through the university system is actually going to end up with the cushion job that we're talking about, because now the labor market is moving toward more of capacity-oriented than even degrees. there are people with degrees up to PhD level, and they still don't even have a job. So it goes now, it has now transcended beyond that idea of, oh, you have a bachelor's degree, that means that you have every right to actually have a job. It's now, what can you actually bring for the organization, and what sustainability, what are you contributing to the betterment of the country as a whole, for example. So for me, for education financing to become a bit better, I think we need to move that subsidy that exists at tertiary level, move it to basic education, and that sort of solves some of the problems, and so that will actually improve the primary school infrastructure, and also we can pay teachers more. Part of the reason why all we have is Hausa sauce, as in Sokoto, for example, as Mukhtar mentioned, is because people who, for example, have masters see that the pay, it's not equal. The pay and the suffering they've gone through to get a bachelor's degree and a master's degree does not equal to what they're going to get when they get a job at a primary school level or a secondary school level. So this also, or primary school or secondary school level. So this also needs to change. The financing in terms of how we pay teachers at that level, the infrastructures that are readily available for teachers to actually assess and ensure that they can actually provide some sort of sustainable education for students also needs to actually improve as well.
Thank you. So, Mukhtar, in 1 minute, just give us your measures. What do you think we can do to ensure that basic education is better in Nigeria?
So I think we all need to go back to advocate. Now, so not just advocacy on the street, but looking at policies, looking at joining things like the SMT, right? The school monitoring teams, joining SBMC, school-based management teams, and what have you, just so that we can develop what is called the whole school development plan. Can we be part of it? Can we take ownership of the education of each and every one of us? In the sense that when you see a child on the street, ask that child, why are you not in school? Right? Just that simple question matters, right? So can we take ownership of those things and make it our own? And then can we be looking at politics as a thing that will change these policies? Can we also be voting for education, voting for health, voting for things? Because democracy is all about question and answer, be it demand and supply. Someone comes to ask you for vote, ask him, what are you going to do in education? What are you going to do in this? Let's stop the issue of voting for nepotism, religion, sentiment, and what have you. Begin to vote for education, right? What are you going to do regarding education? What is this? Let's see your own blueprint on things. And then for us, for some of us that will want to be in government, when we are in government, can we open our ears, right? Can we listen, right? Can we make things? Don't be, I know of a commissioner in one state, whatever you said is, I know. So can we not be people like that and begin to improve our policies and then build our strategies where we can save, one and save all?
Thank you so much, Mukhtar. So from the discussion, I'll just give some of the key things I wrote out. So it's quite important that we know education is everyone's business. So we talk about, it's governments, local government and state government are supposed to take care of basic education, for instance. But when we take it as our responsibility, that government school that is in your community, have you taken time, even if it's 30 minutes or a week, to volunteer and ensure that everything is right? And that's what the global goal is all talking about, leaving no one behind. So you're talking about the goals, why basic education is quite important and why government should invest. When we look at goal 4 and also look at the indicators, about 4 of the indicators are talking about universal basic education and secondary education. Just an indicator is talking about higher education. And higher education can be universities, polytechnics, and all. But we should understand that it's the basic education and also the secondary education that provide that life skills that you're talking about in China, for instance, where the children at primary level are already coding and becoming IT experts and can sit in the comfort of their homes and make money and also improve the economy of their country. Today we say Nigeria is in this, Nigeria is underdeveloped. When we are just consumer nations, all we do is to consume. We are not producing, we're not manufacturing. So what can we look at, what can we think to do, how can we do things better? Also, you talk about partnership, and we know Goal 17 is talking about partnership for the goals. How can we all come together, join hands together in the spirit of open government partnership? So we need a government that is listening, and we also need from the citizen part that is willing to contribute. So sometimes the office of the government is even open, their doors are open, but the citizens are not willing to. Oh, now government property, you see water pump in your community, for instance, leaking, and you feel like, yo, it's government property, it's not my business. So how can we all come together and work together? And I'm very happy, and I want to say something lastly on education financing. How can we fund it better? Fund, not just pushing out funds, but fund it better. And as a coalition of education advocates in Abuja, in Nigeria, we're looking at the state government and the federal government committing 4% of the annual GDP into education instead of the 20%, 15% recommendation by the UNESCO. And I'm glad that Haja Mariam Uwais will be joining us tomorrow. And I think she can speak better around different policies they've done under education. I know the homegrown school feeding program. Yes, it led to increase in enrollment, but are these children staying in school? That's another problem. Transition, it's a big problem. And I also like that, I'm happy that the office of the SDGs, they're here present. I want to see us going forward. Can we have a framework on how to close the gap when it comes to SDGs? So we want to return the 20 million out of school children. In what phases? We can't just do it at once. Different policies, beautiful programs are being implemented, but how effective are they? And on this note, I close the fireside chat. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, sorry about that. Please, ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for ourselves. And thank you. Thank you to the panel for that session on universal basic education. Education is investing in people, and people are the ones that change the world. People change nations. People employ other people. People train other people. People lift other people out of poverty. So that is okay. Yes, it's here. So next up, we're going to take a break. We're going to take a break, and we're going to go, some of us are going to go for prayers, and we'll be back. And from there, around 1:45, we'll go for the 1:45 to 2 o'clock, we'll go for the tree planting, and we'll be back here at 2:30 for our final panel plenary session. The session is on Goal 5, which is gender inequality, breaking the glass ceiling. Who wants to break the glass ceiling? Who's there? Are there any ladies in the house that want to, do something special, do something new, and see other women behind them climb that ladder? Are we here? If you are here, say yes. All right. And we have on that panel Her Excellency Mrs. Sophia Ahmed Nuhu, Ambassador of Nigeria to Romania. Please put your hands together for her. We also have Mrs. Miriam Rabi, Head SDGs today at the United Nations SDSN. We also have Honorable Jamila Dahiru, Honorable Commissioner for Education from Bauchi State. We have Dr. Miriam Shehu, Company Secretary, Kaduna Electric MWF. And it will be moderated by Said Tafida, the Dr. Said Tafida. You don't want to miss this session. Are there any ladies in the house that agree that this session is the session of the day? Please say it like you mean it. Say it like you're sure. That's not a lady. Oh. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, you know, I've had a co-host all day, but she has been on sabbatical. Yes, we have worked really well together. She's been, she's been the gears turning behind the scenes. I'm going to hand over to her, and she's going to close us out for our break. And when we come back, we're going to, of course, plant some trees and then have this major plenary.
So we have to take the break now because we did not, people did not turn up on time to start. The Vice Chancellor has an NUC accreditation committee in his office, so he can't attend the tree planting right now, which is why we said instead of waiting, people can have the break and they can have lunch and go for prayers, and by the time we're back, we go directly plant the trees and then come back for the session. Yes, sir. Yes, there is a Jumat mosque on campus that you can go to. Yes, that's why I took the mic to give that information. So there is a mosque on campus that you can go. Please let me finish. Please let me finish. Thank you. So there is a mosque on campus that you can go and pray. We also have refreshment for our special guests. There is someone waiting to take you to a place where you can have your food, and then from there they would take you to the mosque where you can pray. For all our other guests, as you're going out this way, you can pick up your refreshment, and then we will reconvene back at 1:45 to 2 p.m. downstairs, do the tree planting, and then come upstairs for the final session. Thank you very much.
Also like to announce for those of us who are not back in the hall yet, everyone who's outside, please, shall we come? Let's encourage them to come inside. Our ambassadors, please help us to inform them that the sessions are back on. Please put your hands together for.
I keep changing my roles, yeah? And I know why I'm choosing for this is because I tell you a story before I call on my distinguished people. I'm coming from a family of 5, and I'm the only boy in my house, and I'm the last born. My sisters are amazing to the extent that at age 22, I don't know my shoe size because my sisters get them for me. Till today, my sisters still get some of my clothes. Even though now, I get to get some of them, but I tell you how amazing women can be. So I can do whatever to just sort of moderate this. To cap it all, I'm raised by a single mother that I think my mom is the most amazing person now, as well as professional, as well as more of like a dialogue, right? I have 2 amazing women that will be joining me on this. I will choose to stand to just accord the respect for them, the respect they deserve. And I promise you it's going to be a very faithful conversation. Please, if you have any question, at some point you can just put in your questions and we'll take the questions, and then I'm sure this is going to be our last session for today, right? Like he rightly mentioned, my name is Mukhtar, and I'll be moderating this session. So I have Dr. Mariam Shehu, Company Secretary of Kaduna Electricity. What's the name of the full company? But I don't know. But ma'am, please. Kaduna Electricity Development or Distribution. Okay, distribution, yeah. I'm not from Kaduna, so I might not know. And you know one good thing about this thing. So when they mentioned earlier, I used to be a GPE youth leader with the Global Partnership for Education. And the last time we had the last conversation around education financing, and then we were talking about the effect of BESDA and then the new Agile project that was coming in that the country is implementing, and then the newest Learn to Read. Someone rightly mentioned that, you know what, I think we have a political will in some states that we're implementing this project, and because of their intervention, things go well, right, in the education sector, even if the implementation will not go as fast as possible, but you have listening ears, right? And the question keeps coming that, oh, okay, the Bauchi State have a new commissioner that is more of like with the young people, and she has been doing an amazing job. So it's my singular honor to welcome the Bauchi State Commissioner of Education to the podium. Please keep clapping while she comes. Many were choosing to be here, but few. Many were called, right? Few are choosing to listen to this amazing panel. And I bet you this, I don't have any question. I was given some questions to sort of ask them. But do you know why I will try to do it my own way, not asking them the question I was given, and not even mentioning I just mentioned their offices, but I did not read their profile. They have a lot of them, right? Why I'm doing that is because I want you to be among the people that will tap from the world of experience. You go to school, they teach you Karl Marx said this, about Spencer said this. But nobody taught you that, oh, okay, you have to, the way you talk to Mukhtar is different from the way you talk to Dr. Mariam, right? So, and I bet you this is what the session is going to be. Now, my first question, please, can you help me with the mic? The 2-2 mic, because we'll be dangling the whole thing. I promised you will tell the people that could not come back why, you'll be like, why did you really have to go? So the round of questions will be the same, but in a nutshell, right, my question is going to be, it's a 3 question, but in one. It's going to be at the cost of being who you are, right? Like I said, I was raised by a single mother, and one of the thing I know my mom has to go through before my sisters got married is one thing, that, oh, okay, they were raised by a single mother. Do you want to make them your wife? You know, one of my sister will always cry about this conversation because someone told her that, right? So these are things that...
Find women in leadership, not many, there are just a few. And the few have suffered to get there. They have to be doubly competent, they have to be extremely, extremely good at what they do. And they have to be able to stand up to the men that think that women can't do it. That's where I work. Youngest of 8, Nima Autache. And I was partly raised by my mother. My father died when I was 13. Thank you. And my mother has played more than 90% part in where I am today. She didn't get Western education like some of us did, but she insisted that I went to school. I remember when I was trying to quit my PhD, she called me to order. You cannot quit because none of your siblings has a PhD. You've come this far, you must do it. So women are those that encourage you to be where you are, where you deserve to be. They're the people that tell you that you deserve it and they push you to earn it. I'm a single mother. My 2nd, 3rd, and 4th degrees were earned while I was mothering a child singly. What did I have? I had a strong support structure. Every woman deserves to have, whether it's your family, whether it's your friends, whoever it is that you have. You have to know who you are. You have to know your strengths and weaknesses, and you have to capitalize on those things. Those we to know them in order to work towards improving upon them. Did I get to Kaduna Electric by magic? No. I suffered. I have spondylosis. I have all sorts of drama with my body. But nobody that I have worked with will tell you that Mariam is not competent or not professional or not any of those. I get calls to say, I've seen your CV, I heard about you, I want to work with you. And I have the option of saying, I don't want to. So as a woman, you have to be professional. Professionalism gets you places. That integrity has to count. Because everybody wants somebody they can trust. I'm sorry, my 2 minutes is going, cool? So, okay, let me just summarize this. You have to be, personally, you have to know yourself. You have to be able to tell people who you are. You have to be able to be kind to yourself in order to impact on others. And where you're in a position that you can bring people up, you have to be able to say, what can I do to bring 10, 15 people? Let me just digress a little bit. As company secretary, Kaduna Electric, I realized that I was the only woman in the executive management of 10. 1. And that's because I established the committee. 2 years down the line, I realized that no woman was going to get to that place unless I went to the board to be able to convince the board to approve a gender policy that will encourage women to climb the leadership ladder. 2 years after I joined Kaduna Electric, a gender policy was approved by the board. And today, as we speak, we have 3 out of 10 women in the executive management. In the role of service center manager, it's a leadership role in area offices. And we had only 2 female women out of about 300. 2. Today we have 75 because there was a deliberate policy so that women were empowered, encouraged, and taught how to become leaders. They have to work doubly hard because my 24 hours as a single mother is not the same as this facilitator here, because he will wake up, dress up. His shoe size is determined by a woman. Do you understand? So he will wake up, just eat breakfast and go. I have to prepare my child for school, drop him off at school and come to work and expect to be graded the same level. So we had to put in place things that will encourage and support our women to thrive. So when you find yourself, whether a man or a woman, because women can't do it alone, if you are in that space, it is expected that you will help the women, push them up. They just need a little support, and that's it. Thank you very much.
Something. But left to me, we'll stay here. But one of the things I got from there, maybe I will chip in before going to Honorable Commissioner, is how deliberate you make effort and how systematic you make that effort. So please be jotting. When we're coming back, we know the kind of question we'll be asking. And she was solid to give us her own anticipated successes from the people she got from to the policies around the gender policies that were incorporated and what have you. So I'll come to the commissioner. Same question. Anticipated success, unanticipated ones. And see, I met a commissioner in Delta State, and he said, are you not people working for civil society organization? You should be wearing pickup and, one shirt, and if you see me, you stand up and greet me and stuff. You get. To see a commissioner in some places, it's something else. I'm moderating a session on the commissioner.
It's actually my pleasure that you're moderating this session.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, who am I? My name is Jamila Muhammad Dahiru. I'm a passionate educationist. I started as a career woman, as a teacher. I started teaching from nursery school down to primary, secondary. Just before my as Commissioner of Education, I was a lecturer at Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, the youngest lecturer at the department. And then immediately I got appointed. I left, I joined USAID. I also consulted for many departments, including USAID, UNDP, FCDO, among others, as a communication strategist. I teach mass communication in the university. So you can see why I found myself. It's actually a deliberate effort. It wasn't me just fumbling and then finding myself as a commissioner. I started this career. It was a passion for me. Along the line, you mentioned being a civil society activist. I am one. If you know me in Kaduna State, you know that we work around open government partnership, accountability, where I met Dr. Said Tafida. I must mention Dr. Said Tafida because my co-panelist here mentioned that you as a woman will need that support. So I would say it's important that we have support because as women, we are always being undermined. I will tell you about my work in Kaduna State, and this is because it's part of the achievement I'm most proud of. In Kaduna, I joined this civil society organization because of my passion in educating the Almajiri system. The We Care you see here is my product, is one of my success I always mention. We started as an awareness campaign. It started when I was even in JSS 3. And then growing up, I found myself wanting to help these young people. I continued to talk to my mom always to give me something to give them. And then I found myself even choosing my undergraduate project on a topic as Almajiri. I was looking at their sources of information on health. I understand that they are always left to sensitization, creation of awareness around health, even access to health facilities. You don't even see them in hospitals, etc. When my colleagues, my core students were doing projects around role of TV, I found myself wanting to understand how we can impact on this set of people. So when in the morning, Zaliha mentioned that as students, we should begin to be deliberate in how we want to contribute towards attaining the Sustainable Development Goals, even as little as choosing our research topic. I actually reckoned with her. It was something I started even as an undergraduate student. After that, I continued with the sensitization. I found myself wanting to go to place this set of people not part of your audiences. Why are this set of people not being included in this policy? Why are this set of people not benefiting from such services? I went to commissioners' offices, NGOs, etc. And people began to look at us and even include us in our project. I was nominated one of the secretaries, and they say the most powerful secretaries in the civil society space, one of the most outstanding framework I would say that all states should replicate, Kaduna Accountability Mechanism. This organization have championed so many successes in Kaduna, including increasing the budget of the health sector to more than 16%, including rehabilitation of more than 255 PHCs in Kaduna State, the reviewing of the health policy, inclusion, also even the health social protection policy, you know, so many other projects, contributory health scheme that a lot of people are benefiting in Kaduna State. We do monitoring, we do sensitization, community enlightenment, etc. Those were achievements. Those achievements actually gave me a lot of people begin to reckon with the name Jamila. Whenever someone mentioned my name, they'll say, "Oh, CADMAP, oh, TNT." Etc. A lot of other projects we do together with TNT, including policy review. I was once a policy, gender policy, policy consultant to UNDP, and we designed the gender policy on procurement in Plateau State. So these are some of the achievements I would like to mention because I achieved those achievements without, with difficulty, I must say, yeah. Because at that time, I was a lecturer, a very young one, also a mother of two at that time, also in a state where it wasn't mine. I'm not an indigene of Kaduna State. I found myself doing things that the indigents are supposed to do, and so you have this backlash. Why are you doing this? This is not even your state. You have a system that is also privy of allowing you to do what will expose them, you know. So I would say that you need that resilience, you need that consistency. If you know what you're doing, definitely you will be acknowledged, and whatsoever you are advocating will be given to you easily. Now, let's talk about my role as a commissioner. Yeah, briefly. I mentioned that I have started as a nursery school teacher and then teaching in secondary school. In fact, I served in a nursery school, and then I was absorbed, should I put it that way, in the same school. I taught in the primary, and then I changed. I taught in secondary school. I was once a college principal. I also transferred to a public school because I wanted to understand what is happening. I'll tell you one story. I was posted to a very remote village in Kaduna State. And for me to go to teach in the school, I will have to travel 2 hours. And I have my family to take care of. So I come around 4 and then run to that school and also teach them. I was the only English teacher in that school. I teach from just 1 to SS3. So, and then I'll come back and attend to my family. And it wasn't easy, of course, but I thought I need to improve on myself. So one day I just quit. I told them to continue with my education. That's what took me to ABU Zaria, where I started my master's, and then I got employed. So what happened in ABU Zaria? Unlike the normal lecturers, I was one of the youngest, one of the young lecturers, if not the youngest. But then I was always an inquisitive one that wants to improve on myself. Today, if I'm not article in journals and books, I think I'm among those with the most published journals and articles in that department. And there's this system that push you, my supervisor. So that takes us also to having your support. My supervisor was one wonderful man, Dr. Yakubu Ozo Sleman. He taught me almost everything. But then I'm very, very hardworking. If you know me, you know that if I have a work, I focus on it, and I must work. So to you all, this is me. Today, as learning from primary, nursery, whatever. Those experiences are actually what is helping me, Commissioner of Education in Bauchi State. I can translate those experiences in my office, so even if a nursery teacher is talking to me, I understand a primary teacher, secondary teacher, higher institution. I manage about 6 departments and agencies under the Ministry of Education, 5 higher institutions. One of the youngest commissioner in Bauchi State. Also, the fact that I'm a female, the first female commissioner of education in Bauchi State. It wasn't easy. I met people.
I think I have to cut you.
Do you want me to cut it? You said you will not cut me.
I'll come back to you.
Okay. All right. I think I'll leave it here. But
thank you.
Before I go, it's not easy being a commissioner in a ministry where you have permanent secretaries, directors that are older than your parents. And then when you are this young female, you know you are always being undermined. And you have this system that put pressure on you to deliver, including the people that dominate you, including the governor himself, including organizations that are behind you, because I have these soldiers behind me. I must tell this audience. So you have to have this zeal to deliver. And when you deliver, you're also adding up, more work, more responsibilities. I must say it's a new terrain for me. Someone said you are, something like I didn't fit in that situation, but I feel like I'm most deserved of that position because it is a calling for me and I'm delivering. Thank you.
You can hold the mic. I'm definitely coming back to you. I just want to share the story. I remember when someone told me that, we're for the inauguration of the newest Commissioner of Education. She's a lady. She used to be, you should know her now. Wani. I'm like, you know what? With the kind of place she said with the kind of place she will be, I will just count days. I said it, and I'm sorry I said it. Why did I say that? Not because I'm not proud to have a woman manage a place, but because of the kind of reality. We have just one legislator that is a woman, just one. That's Adamawa State. Now, subsequently, we're having the new chief judge to be a woman, and then we're having some sort of, I am from a state that one time on a time, a commissioner of women affairs in my state used to be a man. A commissioner of women affairs in my state used to be a man, to be honest. So that is a story for another day. That, just so you know where I'm coming from, right? Just so you know where I'm coming from. So now I'm going to come back to some sort of, I don't want us to lose the whole conversation from, I know, and the audience sort of understands who you people are, right? Now we go into the conversation now. But now it's one minute with the grace of another minute. The first question with the grace of 1 minute. Now it's 1 minute with the grace of another minute so that we can close on time. But the question goes like this. She talked about Almajiri. I'm not going to ask her about Almajiri. She's passionate about, so she'll always say something about it. I'm throwing the question to you. You are a mother. You are a leader, right? You are a community person. You have a community, and you have something to portray. You have your name to represent, right? Each and every day, no matter where you are in this country, if you're leaving your house to the office, you definitely see Almajiri children, right? There is something that comes to you. You have limits to what you can do. She is a commissioner. So I'll come to her as I mean, everything we'll say is she has failed if, we are to make a comment. But in that context, being a mother, being a leader, and being a community person, what do you think we can do as people that represent that particular thing? A mother, a leader, a community person, to these very people, so that we can come together as one, right, and make it work. What efforts do you think we can make as people to do that? 1 minute with additional 1 minute.
It's interesting that you're asking me this question. In 2010, I think, 2011, when I was researching to start my PhD, my focus, my intention was to write on the Almajiri system. But guess what? I was frustrated out of writing about Almajiri system in the institution that I was, because we are ashamed, as Northerners, as Nigerians, we're ashamed of where we are surrounding those children. We don't want to talk about it. You hear comments like, there's nothing more to say, it's been done, this and that, that and that. And no matter if you take out everything you have today and contribute to and dash the Almajiri and their system, it's not going to change anything. It's like a drop of water in the ocean. It's painful. Every day, listen, there's, I don't even know, I didn't know this question was going to come to me, because it's something that personally hurts me to see them on the streets every day. I know how much care I take of my children and my siblings' children and my relatives, and I wonder how someone can have a child and throw in the streets. It's painful. And guess what? Okay, I didn't introduce myself as running a non-profit. I run a non-profit, which is one of the reasons why I acted as a Mandela Washington Fellow alongside Said. What we do in Charity to Chair Foundation, facilitate access to medical care for the less privileged. This is anybody who cannot afford it. And once we have cases of whether maternity, whether women, whether children, vulnerable people, once we have cases, we sponsor their surgeries. Now, ask me if that is effective. We've done it for 10 years. Do I think it's effective? It's still a drop of water in the ocean, because I still go out and I see thousands of children striving to get what to eat. We have to have a systemic approach to addressing this issue of Almajiri. I have a non-profit. She has a non-profit. He has a non-profit. Is it changing anything? No. It has to be a deliberate, well-designed procedure that once upon a time, my governor, Kaduna State Governor, wanted to abolish the system. He tried street begging. He tried to get them off the streets. It's not their fault that they're there, no. The parents who have them, who are supposed to take care of them, are leaving them to you and I. And they're used as baits for those who want to cause mischief. So it is not something that I can feed 1,000 a day. It's not going to change anything. I can take 100 to the hospital. It's not going to change anything. We have to have a systemic and deliberate plan of how we can handle this. These are Nigerians. Even if you adopt one, there are 10,000 more. If you adopt one Almajiri school and teach them the rudiments of financial literacy, skills, if you decide that this school, as it is, they're learning on the ground with the allo and what have you, that you're going to have professional teachers teach them and give them life skills, soft skills, negotiation skills, all of those things. And these are not just boys. Now I've heard that they're Almajiri girls as well. Vulnerable to rape, vulnerable to prostitution and what have you. It is so disheartening. I'm not happy. You know, it's something that actually breaks my heart. So, let me land. It is painful, and it is something that maybe a coalition of non-profits can come together and support the government to have a way that we're going to handle it, because it is beginning to become a problem. Now, once upon a time, the Almajiri will beg you for alms. Now they demand for it. In Kaduna, when you're driving, they knock on your window and show you their mouth and their stomach because you're in a car and it's covered and there's AC and you must give them. It has started with knocking on the window. It is upon us.
All right, thank you. I will definitely come to your question is going to be a bit not her question. So I'm going to jump to the people that are joining us from God knows where, but online. Miss Mariam Rabi, right? Pardon. I'm just carried away with the... Okay, so I have Miss Mariam Rabi, head of SDG today at the United Nations. So please, can you introduce yourself and take us through 1 minute? Oh, she's a white person. Okay, let me refresh my English. All right, so please, I will introduce Miss Mariam Rabi, and please give us a little bit background about you and what you've been doing over time. But in 1 minute, with additional 1 minute for you. Can she hear me?
So much.
Can she see me?
Can you hear me
So
all right?
that if there is... Oh, wow. She's from Cambodia, too. All right, so while this thing is coming back, yeah, I will get to Honorable Commissioner. Honorable Commissioner, you're from Bauchi, and I'll give you a little bit background before coming to my question. Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Her network is very poor, actually. I don't think so.
I can hear you.
Oh, I can hear you too. Let's go.
Okay, so you can hear me now.
Sure.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm sorry I'm not there with you in person. I'm joining you from New York, and I'm very humbled and honored to be speaking alongside the great panelists. Sorry I joined a little bit late, but I've been benefiting from their remarks. So, as mentioned, my name is Mariam Rabi. I am the head of SDGs today at the UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network program. So we work on advancing the production and use of geospatial information and technologies for the Sustainable Development Goals. As you can imagine, it is definitely a lot of stories to be told in terms of how we can provide more opportunities heard and to move agendas forward within this space, additional programs. So that's my 1 minute introduction for the audience.
All right, thank you. I really want you to listen to Honorable Commissioner on this question, and then I'll come back to you with your own question, right? We're good. Let me be speaking for She's from New York. All right, so Honorable Commissioner, just the background. Just some months ago, maybe some weeks ago, there was an issue of Lassa fever, right, around Bauchi and Edo State that affected a lot of people. Now, it has to do with pupils from schools and then the secondary school children and what have you. And then if you look at the growing numbers of out-of-school children, particularly girls, right, it has been in a massive thing that you could be wondering if we truly have today, not to talk of tomorrow, right? Yeah. Now, having mentioned what you have done over time, my question will be, bearing in mind all these challenges, what are you doing? What effort are you making to create another Jamila that is seated here as the Honorable Commissioner? You're not speaking as a civil society person, no, a former lecturer or something. As a commissioner, what policies are you making, right? What strategy are you creating? What are the innovative strategies you're creating as a commissioner to do that? And, you know, in a nutshell, can you give us what you're doing to create another Jamila in Bauchi?
Okay, great. I think just before we came up here, one of the audiences, a young guy there met me and was inviting me to be part of, we call a movement that is called Book for All, right? Did I get, okay. And I was referring to providing books for pupils to read in schools, you know. But then in the conversation, I got to know that they are referring to access to education for all. And we had an interesting discussion, right? In Bauchi State, it is sad to mention that some indices in the field reveal that Bauchi State is leading in out-of-school children in Nigeria, probably in West Africa. And we have this percentage of the out-of-school children. You also mentioned that there was an outbreak of Lassa fever in Bauchi State, in some local governments in Bauchi State, particularly some Tsangaya schools. And our discussion revolves around Al-Majiri. So I would like to sum it up. For us,
have a minute to go.
Yeah. So for us in Bauchi, we are working tirelessly. We are putting effort to ensure that we implement indices. We wouldn't want to be called the most backward in education. And so my governor, Senator Bala Abdul Qadir Muhammad, in this new administration, put it that education is the first priority, and that's the first education. When I came on board, I had to conduct what I call the fiscal space analysis. I did educational space analysis, and some of the findings were not very nice to hear. Dilapidated structures in our schools, a lack of teachers, then the number of transition, continuation, etc. They were all bad. And we had to design a strategy. And you ask me doing to ensure that we are not leading out-of-school children. One is to strengthen the system. When I came on board, I learned about one program they are conducting in Kaduna State. They call it Nomadic Vocational Course. They are targeting the nomadic children. And that is you providing like a lesson period for them during holidays. And we are targeting 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 children. Just a few weeks ago, we finished the third cycle. And that is helping us increase the access of education. Some of them are being absorbed in our conventional schools. And they are doing very well, we are told. Some of them classes, because you know the nomads are actually intelligent students. So this is one thing to be able to curtail the out-of-school children. Then we introduce, not introduce per se, but just the government, I think, has been passionate about this Al-Majiri. And that's why the Al-Majiri system of education is embedded in our system, or the formal system. Now, the Ministry of Education manages 4 of the Tsangaya schools in the state. We provide them with food, we provide them with teachers, and even learning facilities. I know it's not enough. We are hoping that we will expand that. But this is to say that we have started in a very good direction. We're training even the teachers. One of the ideas is even to understand is it really our indices? These numbers, is it really of Bauchi State? And so we conducted another annual school census. And it is telling us that actually there are schools that were left out in the previous annual school census. And that's why we are getting those figures, because some schools refuse to register. For instance, private schools. And then you have these integrated Quranic schools that are incorporating both Western education and Islamic education, not being mentioned or not being captured in the annual school census. And that's why you have the high numbers going out there, plus other factors, like the influx of the migrators. You know, Bauchi is surrounded with many states, and those states are not very peaceful, so there's relative peace in Bauchi. People are always trooping to have a safe space to stay.
Thank you.
So many things.
I'll come back to you. I'll definitely come back to you.
Did I even answer your question?
No, I'll come back to you because, I mean, you've answered some, but some you...
Are you sure?
I'm 100% sure.
Okay.
I'll come back to you. But I'll get to Mariam, and that's where the conversation is. As the head of SDG, right, the conversation will be around localization. Now, what are you doing understanding what Honorable Commissioner is saying about the nomadic and then the nature of Bauchi State, right? So Bauchi is among the fewer states that have issues like that. But I tell you, in Sabombiri that I mentioned earlier, they behave like the people from Niger Republic because, I mean, they naturally do something with the Niger people. And I know of a community in Kano State where during election in Niger, they get ballot papers to vote. During election in Nigeria, they get ballot paper to vote, right? So what are you doing around SDG localization, right? In such a way that will affect the people in the communities that she's talking about. Mariam, please.
Sure, that's a great question, and I would say across the different programs that we have our organization, everyone has a different approach and method to trying to localize the SDGs, and maybe I'll share one example in terms of how we're trying to apply that in the geospatial context that we operate in. This is an initiative that some colleagues in the room might already know about because we've been in conversation with them about this, but we started an initiative on mapping schools, and our approach is to engage communities in that process. So it's a bottom-up effort to collecting data, benefiting from the knowledge that local communities could provide into the topic of access to education, rather than a top-down approach to collecting data, making decisions, and impacting the future of those communities. So what we do is we developed a model that provides estimates on walking travel time of school-age populations to schools, but the school location data comes from communities. So we use OpenStreetMap data for that. So that would require student groups, youth groups, local community members to map their schools, know where the schools are, add it to this map. So then when we're looking at it, which is disaggregated at a district level, if a policymaker is looking at this map, they'll realize where more schools are needed, because the map shows you where students are walking over 30 minutes to access a school. And so this is our effort to try to engage communities, give that power to the communities to provide information that can impact and determine decisions that are made about their future. So this is one small example in terms of what that data could do. We've had communities that have taken this further to identify whether or not the schools have access to clean water and sanitation, or access to internet, and what other services students would need access to. Or even beyond that, so we have been in touch with some ministries about not just about where more schools are needed, but then do we have enough teachers within that district or within that community to be able to serve those students. Then there are questions related to connectivity and access to devices. So this conversation has gone beyond just communities getting involved in terms of providing and collecting that data, but what are some of the solutions that we can support these local communities with. And so that's just one example in terms of how we've engaged and tried to empower communities with a new skill set, so they can take these new geospatial skill sets and apply that to other challenges within their community beyond access to education. So we're hoping that this is a kind of sustainable approach to that as well. So giving them the tools and data that they need to impact decision making at a local level. And so it's been wonderful to be engaged with these communities and to see that we've had students from high schools participate. We've had local community members who have ridden their bikes around their town and have mapped schools. So I think this is a topic that everyone understands the urgency and the importance of, and so it's great to see how different community members are making an effort to collect that information.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mariam. Please, I don't want us to forget or think I'm carried away. I know we're still discussing about gender and inequality, but I just want you to understand that without educating the people or without understanding our own goal or telling our people what this means, automatically we are not going anywhere. And the goal is to have these girls educated. That's what will breach the barrier. I'm coming back to Dr. Mariam, But now it's not going to be more of like, it's going to be more of like your closing statement, but not your closing statement, because I will still give you some 30 seconds to close it. You work for an agency. Aside you now, I know you've done something around gender policy for that particular agency, for the people in the agency to benefit from, right? And then understanding where I'm coming from, there is what is called the CSR and what have you. Now, what are you doing? What is with your own influence around the gender barriers, right? To the communities, to the host communities within your own system. If there is none, it's fine. But if there is any, please, in 1 minute.
No, so you have to finish, you have to fill your cup before you take it out, right? Yeah. And I'm just saying that our gender policy is 5 years old. So we've not drank enough within the organization. We have to, you can't pour from an empty cup. Sorry, I have to start. As an individual, you have to take care of yourself to be able to take care of someone else. As an organization, you have to find your weaknesses and strengthen them before you're able to give back. We do CSR, but when it comes to gender, we're not even where we're expected to be. We're just starting. And we're progressing rapidly, and it's something that within the industry needs to be translated, because Kaduna Electric is the franchise, has 4 franchise states: Sokoto, Zamfara, Kebbi, and Kaduna. Now we've started translating it. We have a crash, we have all of those things, we mentor our women, we have pep talks. We tell ourselves the truth about our realities, and we talk to the men to improve on their attitude. Some men will say the same thing you said in a meeting. Everybody will applaud him. You just said it, he just repeated it, but he gets the applause. So we're working around sensitizing the men that we work with about the peculiarities of women. We're not aggressive. We don't come out all strong. They do, and then they get the promotion and the applause. So on CSR, we're still finding footing to teach ourselves the relevance and importance of promoting the strengths of our women and trying to give them an equitable platform for which they can compete with the men and grow as well. So that's my answer.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'll come back to you for your last statement. So I'll come, you know, when I started this job, I lead follow the money. I track government spendings. All I do is to just write a FOI. If you did not do, I shame you, I name you, I do whatever. But I've come to realize that it doesn't say anything, right? Yeah. Bring together over 10,000 civil society organizations that are in Nigeria, cannot do one policy that a government can do, right? The question still remains, right? Within your ministry, right, what are the things, what are the innovative ideas you do around gender now? Not the policies of education, around gender, to sort of support the teachers that are female teachers, the female student, right? And then the female staffs of the ministry to just balance the equation of it's normal to be a lady and a guy to compete in one place in normal thing, in normalcy. Yeah. But please, 1 minute.
Yeah, I'm
Thank
giving you one. So in Bauchi State, the first thing I felt is very important is to implement or to adopt, so to say, because we are not domesticating the gender in education policy, which I found it to be missing in Bauchi State, and not just access to education, quality education. We've introduced programs, and that is also targeting only girls, talking about schools, vocational schools for girls. So there were these centers in Bauchi State that were, can I say, abandoned? And I felt we should revive them, and then I felt we should target the married women. And so you have them coming to those centers, and they're learning in those centers. And very soon, we will have our budget capturing those centers so that we will revive it adequately, providing all the facilities that they will require. Very soon, we will also be domesticating the Child Right Act, which I believe the girl child will benefit more than even the boy child because of our peculiarities as a state, looking at our own culture and background, we have this policy that is called also the Teacher Employment and Redeployment Policy. And this one talks about the minimum qualification for a teacher, minimum qualification to be transferred or to transit from one level of education to another level of education. And we did that with the women in mind, because they are always the ones going to further their education. But when it comes to employment, you see them being left behind. People will give names, and then you say, and I introduced something which I hope it will be implemented very soon. This is talking. We mentioned that we lack teachers, quality teachers in our schools. We found out that most of these teachers refuse to because they don't teach in their localities. So we've introduced this thing that says, can we employ people within their communities to teach in their schools, in the various schools? And we've encouraged that within this employment ratio, we should have more women than male, because we believe if they are teaching in their localities, they'll be able to attend to the schools and our children have access to good education. And the teacher training, teacher professional training that we've introduced recently, which targets the in-service teachers. And if you look at the percentage of our teachers, you'll see that we have very, very minimal number of women. And in this employment, I'm assuring you that teachers in our state, because we have so many issues around gender-based violence and so on in our schools.
Thank you.
So the last point is our single gender policy in Bauchi State, single gender school policy in Bauchi State. And that was because of gender-based violence that we have in Bauchi State. A lot of girls being forced to marry without the knowledge of their parents, all this juvenile delinquency, and the girls were at the receiving end. So there was this introduction of single gender schools, and it is actually working very well for us. Girls attending to the same schools, boys attending to a single school. Thank you.
Thank you. Please just hold on to the mic. And the only thing I will ask from the organizers, please, when you're doing this kind of session, please give the person moderating more time, because there are a lot of things to say. But I'm wrapping it up now. To Mariam, your final thoughts, right? There are young people here, but in 1 minute, they're pretty much all of us are young people with energy. We do a lot of things, but we want to navigate life. What would you have to say around gender to us, for us to do?
One thing that I have been reflecting on myself, and so a reminder to myself and also to share with the audience as well, is to demand opportunities. So unfortunately, opportunities are not provided to us because we qualify for them, or because it's fair, or because it's we're in the position to take charge. So I would say I think that mindset is something that I encourage for my own team, for myself, and would for the audience as well, is to demand those opportunities and to take charge and leadership when those opportunities present themselves. And since we are with a younger audience here, I would like, this is kind of an open call for anyone that has any ideas around data for the SDGs, whether it's a case study that you're involved in, or if you have an idea for an innovative methodology that we can use to better track any of the SDGs, please feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you and to work with you.
Thank you very much, Mariam. In as much as, for those of us that attend night school, our English just keep doing on my head. But I'll go to Dr. Mariam. Please, in 1 minute, right? You are in Nigeria with the peculiarity of Nigerians. What's your call for young people in 1 minute?
As a young person, I wouldn't have been where I am today if not because I had a sound support structure. I had challenges, everybody has challenges and what have you, but you need to capitalize on mentorship. You need to know that you're going to be a mentor one day, and you need to build a strong network of mentors around you. You need sponsors. You need someone who would mention your name in a room full of opportunities. Nobody succeeds without those things. Your person has to be that person that anybody would be proud of any day to present to anybody to say, give this boy a chance, give this lady a chance. So you need to be professional, and when you get there, please don't forget to be kind, to be humble, to be respectful, to have those qualities that everybody expects as a leader. Kindness takes you places. And unless you're able to know yourself and be kind to yourself, you have to rely on others, you have to build yourself, and you have to be. Some of us that are sitting here still have some work to do about.
Thank you. So Honorable Commissioner, your question is not like ours, right?
Okay.
And I don't want to ask a policy question because you drag. But my question will be, what do you have to young people that want to be like Jamila?
To be consistent.
Consistency.
And to be hardworking.
Hard work.
You don't want to be an empty barrel because we make the loudest noise,
yes,
but then you don't have anything to offer. You wouldn't want someone, she mentioned mentorship, she mentioned someone mentioning your name in a room. You wouldn't want someone to mention your room and then you don't deliver. I want you people to prepare, because it is when you prepare that you are able to deliver. If I'm not prepared for this work, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't even achieve what I just mentioned. You also have to be humble. I want to capitalize on this because sometimes we get so excited, overexcited because of little roles that we get or little positions that we found ourselves in, and you forget where you start from. So you always remember where you started from and where you're heading towards. That's your focus, and it gives you determination. That's my message for them.
Thank you very much. And to cap it all, while you do amazing job, I always say build personal relationship, because that's what sort of help to achieve what we want to achieve. And in achieving what we want to achieve, we have to understand that in everything they said, or just to cap what they said, consistency is key, being deliberate is key, and being systematic is also key. I want to say thank you. I mean, I'm really honored to be the one moderating this conversation, having to know that I know with the world of women, definitely a lot of us men will go to places. Without women, I don't think we'll go. One of the things I always ask myself is, if eventually I want to start a family, will I be a great person? And that thing has always been stuck in my head. And I want you guys to also understand that we have to think around, these people make a lot of sacrifices. The only thing we can do to them now is to tell them thank you, and always try and put a point of saying, I'm sorry when we're wrong, and I'm proud of you when you're proud of them. So I want to say thank you to Mariam Rabi, that is joining us from New York, and Dr. Mariam, that is joining us from Abuja, right? And the Honorable Commissioner that is joining us from here. It's an honor to be the moderator today. You know, I want to maybe I will be going to a journalism school to see if I can perfect this job. But please, photographers, can you help snap a picture with me and them, you know, just so that if I want to apply for loan, it will be like, I've had the Honorable Commissioner on my panel and the company secretary. You know what that means to be there. Dr. Said would like to join us on that, and we'll have, but three of us first. And Miss Mariam, please, you will also join us from that. Dr. Said, just hold on. Okay. So he gave me the chance to do that, so that's why he's trying to tell you. But please, photographers, help us with that. Thank you. Let me put my cap so that I'll be responsible.
So, well done.
Oh.
So the three of them first. The three of them.
Yes, the three of us first.
Put up. Put her back. They are working on it. He did not see flash. Pictures are good. So, now we're going to join.
So fortunately, we don't need the ambassadors to join our placeholder vibes this evening. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ma'am. Have an awesome day. We don't know what time of day it is over there, but thank you so much for joining us. Please, once again, let's put our hands together for all our panelists. Our panelists who are here, present, and in diaspora, joining us online. Thank you. Thank you, Mukhtar. Once again, I would just like to, send out my own goodwill message to every woman here, and say to you, let's create opportunities for ourselves. And, yes, the best way to build this is for even other women to support women. Please, and gentlemen in the room, please, let's put our hands together for all the women who are here. We're doing this with intention because we are going to break our glass ceilings and put women in the places because when you empower a woman, you're empowering a generation of people. Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have thoroughly enjoyed myself. Tomorrow, May the 20th, we will convene here. And we will start registration at 9 a.m. inshallah. And by God's grace, all of that will be sorted. My name is Shehu Ajayi. Some of you may know me from a popular TV series that was a daily show on African Magic titled Hustle. My name is not Dio, though. My real name is Shehu, but if you called me Dio, that will still be fine. I'd like to say that I'm still at your service here tomorrow, day 2. Your chief servant, whatever you need. I just don't serve small chops. That's all I don't do. Whatever else you need, you can talk to me. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please put your hands together for yourselves. Thank you for a great day, and see you tomorrow. Good evening.